Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today, a lot of people are going to be excited about this one. We are reacting to Välde by Humanity's Last Breath. This is a band that has popped up over the past 2 months or so with my reactions to Välde. These guys share 2 of the same band members as Välde, I believe. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into it. I've seen the comments, I've read it out, and I've referenced it slightly in the Välde videos. Over time, I'll get to know them myself, but for the moment, I want to just go in as open-minded as possible. I know these guys fall into the Thal coined genre, so it's going to be interesting to see the comparisons between themselves and Välde. I believe these guys are somewhat heavier than Välde, which I struggle to believe is even possible, but we're going to figure it out today. Before we jump in, I got to do the usual plugs. Patreon.com/DrewFortune if you want to support the channel. You will also get access to all of the blocked videos that do not make it to YouTube. I'm hoping that this video does not get blocked. I believe there's only one other full album reaction to it on YouTube. I'm hoping that's purely just because people haven't done it, not that they've been blocked by YouTube. So we'll find out. Patreon will also allow you to have access to the videos 48 hours before they go live on YouTube. You'll get access to all of the polls where we vote on these albums, and of course you'll get access to the back catalog of blocked videos that have already gone out and the videos that will get blocked going forward. So without any further ado, lads, we are going to jump in. Make sure you drop a like on this video. Can we hit 1,000 likes on this video? I believe we can. The Välde videos have been doing very, very well in terms of the feedback, the comments, the likes. So I believe that you guys, being a crossover of fans, will be able to show love on this one, especially because it's the first time we've actually reacted to this band. So yeah, drop a like, make sure you're subbed, and let's go. Okay, let's say I wanted to give that a bit of breathing time to really figure out how similar these guys are to Välde, because obviously, you know, the whole Thal thing gets thrown around a lot with Välde and a lot of these bands. So this band in particular, being that they have 2 members from Välde playing in them, or at least I think one of them, I think Buster is the producer of Välde, but also produces Humanity's Last Breath. Again, I was going to do a lot of research and all beforehand, but I think sometimes when you know too much, it's a little bit just like, you know, I'd rather just go in completely unknowing at the start and then do my own research as I go on when I, you know, start to like the band a bit more, or if I don't start to like the band a bit more, who knows. But initial thoughts, first track on the album being the intro, not much to say on that one. I know a lot of people have kind of said, there's been a lot of, this is what's weird about these bands, is that there's a lot of inconsistencies with my thoughts. With bands like Välde, on paper, I think I wouldn't normally like Välde, but they just slap so hard. One of my favorite bands at the moment. On paper, I don't think I should really like this as well. And I think a lot of people picked up on that as well. They said there's a lot of blast beats in this album. We've already seen quite a bit of that. And I think when the album, I was trying to think to myself as I was listening to it, I was like, what is it that kind of makes me like the blast beats? Because I know there is certain songs and there's certain bands that have elements with blast beats in it that I do enjoy. And it's always trying to differentiate why I like it. I think when they're putting a song that is like a single, if that makes sense. So say, for example, there's a single that I'm listening to and it's not really made up as a part of a concept album, like this one, for example. Well, I believe this is a concept album anyway. Or at least with these Thal bands, a lot of the albums that they create feel like full concept albums where you listen to them from start to finish. Because of the atmosphere that they create, it feels like you're listening to this like hour. It's almost like a movie piece. If that's the best way to describe it. I think it's like a drama or a play or like, you know, it feels like the backing track to like a horror movie or something along those lines. So I feel like the blast beats are just like sprinkled into these albums and it works because it's this overall eerie, creepy vibe that they're going with. So like the blast beats in this section of this, like these tracks didn't really bother me that much. It's when it just feels like it's like a single, and I know for a fact that the single's in like 5 minutes long or 4 minutes long, and like a lot of it is just made up of blast beats. I feel like it just adds nothing to a single, whereas in the context of an entire album, I think it adds a lot more. As for the Välde comparisons, because it's always going to be there, the Thal sound in particular that Välde coined, the open pockets of space is so unique to that Thal sound. It's so cool. And again, that plays into what I was talking about with like the horror movie soundtrack. It's just like these open pockets, these low tuned down notes that are played, and then there's just big open areas of just silence, and then you'll get like a weird effect, and then the underlayered guitar tones. A lot of that in this track actually reminded me of Välde, and you could hear that Välde sound. So I think it's Carl is the guitarist for Humanity's Last Breath. Yeah, Carl Thomer. He's the guitar, or well, he's one of the guitarists anyway. I don't know if that's him, and I suppose Buster as well. So the 2 guitarists in Humanity's Last Breath, I believe, are both also members, or at least at some point were members in Välde. So you can hear the Välde sound, that really, you know, trademark guitar sound. So let me even just try find it. That part there, this little it reminds me of one of the Välde tracks where it's like bow, bow, yeah, it's that tone is so reminding me of Välde. So that's, I would imagine, a lot to do with the fact that the 2 members are in Humanity's Last Breath as well. So it's a cool little crossover, hearing, you know, the different influences. So it feels like this is almost a part of the Välde like Easter egg with the, you know, the albums playing homage to each other, Mustad and Mustad under Vatten. So that was a lot of talking for the first track. I'm going to let it play through a little bit more, and we will catch back up in a minute. I have so much goosebumps from that. That was so unusual. Like, that was unbelievably unique. That was unbelievable. Oh, that is just absolutely shining through the genius of Buster on production. I think it is Buster on production. Let me just confirm that because I don't want to be... Yes, so I've just confirmed, just to make sure. I was 99% certain, but I wanted to make sure for definite that it was Buster who produced this album as well. And his level of genius when it comes to, like, I won't even say, it's just so unique. The backing track for that entire album, or the vast majority of it anyway, was this, if anyone can find a word to describe that, like, bubbly, like, that was like the foundation of that entire backing track. And then we had again that Thal open string, like almost like I can almost visualize the like movie scene that they're creating. It's that felt like the end of the world type vibe with like asteroids. Like they play the open notes, but I think it was like a production part, so it was done in post-production or whatever. So it's like zoom, like it sounds like the note is, it's not being playing out, it's almost being dropped in. And then also at the same time you have this, so that's just creating the feel for the entire atmosphere. And then you have all this, you know, these external parts that are being dropped into the mix as well. And it's just mind-blowingly impressive how creative all of this is. So from like an actual track standpoint, I could see why people maybe would be like not that into this. But I think when you've just got some level of understanding, you know, of complexities within music production and just the creativity when it comes to playing an instrument or anything along those lines. I've got very limited knowledge on actually playing myself, but with my limited knowledge, I can understand, having, you know, spent hours trying to learn and, you know, picking up different techniques and stuff like that. To the untrained ear, this probably would just be like a lot of noise, someone who's not that into metal. But when you really like know the time signatures and just like how like unusual this sound is to even think of in the first place, let alone to like actually bring it to fruition and you know, play it and produce it alongside that, to just even think of this unique sound altogether. Like there's just so few bands that are doing anything like this from what I've heard anyway. So it's just it's such a breath of fresh air. Earthless is a track that I've seen pop up as bands doing other channels doing like single reactions to. So this may be one of the more popular tracks on the album. I'm not really entirely sure, but I've just seen this one in particular pop up, and I can definitely see why. So unique. Again, shades of Välde in it, but it still sounds like its own thing, you know. It sounds like it's definitely heavier, and it doesn't have as many of the kind of weird dinosaur sounds that Välde has, but it does like sprinkle it in really, really well. So I'm very, very impressed so far. This is like, again, one of these albums that I feel like I'll have to listen to from start to finish. It'll be one of these albums like Mastadon and Navatin that I don't really go to singles on it. It's just you play the thing in its entirety. You know, so yeah, unbelievable. Descent. Yeah, so that's definitely a massive noticeable difference between Humanity's Last Breath and Välde, is that Välde don't really dip into the blast beats that you're hearing right now. We don't really hear that a lot. So again, I'm not that mad on it, because I know it's gonna like probably lead into some big pocket of open space where you get all these crazy like meteor asteroid crashing riffs and all this open atmospheric shit, you know. Whereas if it was just this, like, that's why I don't really like a lot of deathcores, because I feel like it's just a lot of and just doesn't feel like there's a lot of rhythm to this. But yeah. that felt like a really good track to demonstrate the different tempo changes, the different styles that they can incorporate. So I feel like that would be a good introduction track to kind of give to someone to say, like, look, this is a lot of what they can do. There's a lot of that atmosphere that we've already spoken about. There's a lot of the open pockets of space, but then we also had the blast beats, and we also had like some, you know, more accessible, groovier segments. So yeah, that was a good track as well. This album so far has flown beautifully into each other, so that's always something that I appreciate as well, especially with these kind of concept feeling albums, you know. That one didn't feel as smooth. It felt like just a single. I get trust issues with bands like this, man. I just can't trust them with anything. Like, it just changes too quickly. This band feels like it would be the perfect band for someone who has a short attention span. I have quite a short attention span. I feel like doing the album reactions, weirdly enough, has actually made me a lot more tolerable to paying attention to things for a little bit longer, because naturally, like, albums in the modern world, I suppose in metal, they're a little bit different, and especially in prog metal, a lot of people like digest albums. So I don't think I'm really speaking to a mass of people that are on the same page. But I think naturally, with like the likes of TikTok and all these kind of things, I have quite a short attention span. I believe a lot of people probably do, but when it comes to like music, it's one of the main things at the moment that I've really built up a patience for. And with doing albums like this, it really helps. But in saying all that, this band and just how quickly they're changing feels like it would be a good band for someone who wants to get into listening to, you know, longer form content. You know, they want to listen to albums from start to finish and actually, you know, not just digest singles, because I feel like there can't really be a story properly told in a single unless it's one of these tracks that's, you know, a little bit longer, that is specifically trying to tell a story through the lyrics or something like that. But I feel like with Välde, a lot of this story can be told purely from the atmosphere. But to bring all that back around and go back to the main point, is this would be a good album for someone who does want to get into the longer form videos or longer form music, but also has a short attention span, because it's just changing so much. Like, one minute you get like a blast beat, and then they'll just completely switch it up, drop the tempo, it'll start getting real chuggy, and then they'll just like start throwing these laser beam sounds in, and it's like constantly engaging you, constantly like pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. So that's something I just noticed there, because normally I'd have quite a short attention span, and sometimes you can find yourself drifting, especially when you're sitting here for like an hour, you know, you're just listening to an album. Because when I'm actively listening to an album, you guys can even try this, I suppose, at home. Like, it's not something you have to have a channel to do, but really focus in and pay attention to the album, almost as if, like, anytime I do something like this, it's like I'm listening to an album when it first drops for the first time. That's probably the best way to describe it. When an album first comes out, you're really paying attention to it. But you can find that if there's a track or two on the album that you're not really fucking with, your brain starts to wander. With Välde, you never, or sorry, with Humanity's Last Breath, you never really get that moment to even wander, because you might be kind of wandering and then all of a sudden it's like rant, 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 rant in your ear. So it just kind of wakes you back up again. So that's just a funny little thing I noticed there. I thought I was going to get emotional there at the end. The bit of melody at the end is a little bit, that was a little bit surprising to me. Woo! I think one thing I've noticed is that Välde albums have flown a little bit better into each other. It feels more like a start to finish project. This one does feel like it kind of has a bit of a stoppy starty feel.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
Okay, I'm gonna bring that back. That I was kind of waiting for something like that where I had that big moment in the album. It felt like we got a lot of like smaller segments of that album that were almost, or in this album that were almost teasing this, whereas Viljarta's albums feel like they have more of those big moment, like them big riffs where you can kind of just properly headbang to, whereas Humanity's Last Breath they almost feel more thawed than Viljarta. Like they almost feel like it's more focused on this atmosphere and these like really drawn out spaces coming back into boom 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 down down boom 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 boom. Like that's what it feels, whereas Viljarta does feel like it has these like disgusting more traditional riffs where you can really just bang your head to. So I was kind of like wondering, would they do something similar to that? And this was that moment that kind of caught me off guard. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit just like, again, getting lost in the atmosphere, and then they just blew my head off like that. So I'm gonna bring that back. Probably one of my favorite parts of the album so far. That little, just at the end of that riff, that dun 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 is just so fucking good. It's just the way in which it allows the riff to like loop. It's like diddle diddle down, diddle diddle down, down, diddle diddle down, boom, diddle diddle, boom, 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 boom. Oh, it's so good. yeah, that's up there with tracks of the album so far. But again, it does feel like a lot of them are. Some of the descriptive writing is very good in this as well. I've actually noticed a few little metaphorical lines or anything like that. Your eyes now blind to the light of the sun, open wounds weeping, veins drained, lungs emptied. Open wounds weeping. That's a pretty cool way of just saying someone was bleeding out, essentially. But just small touches like that. Way that they can find a way to like drop the feel of the track lower, small details, even if it be the little flangery effect that we got there. I was gonna call it out, but I just said I'd let it keep playing. It was like a let me hear it. It's just that there that so that was one example, but then what really came to my attention was that it felt like it was kind of at that level it was going to stay, and they find a way to like almost transition into like a lower step down, so it's down, and then they can drop it again. So wait for this part here. Yeah, it's just the way, it's just so effortlessly done. Like I barely even copped it that time. I wasn't actively listening. Like I think Hadean, or the name of the track itself, has I think it's something to do with hell. Hadean meaning. So it's Greek mythology relating to or characteristic of Hades, the underworld of the dead. So yeah, isn't Hades like another word for like the devil or some shit in Greek mythology? Relating to or denoting the period when the earth was forming. A new analysis is Hadean an era. The Hadean is the unofficial geological period of time that lies just before the what? Yeah. The Hadean Eon, named after the Greek god and ruler of the underworld Hades, is the oldest eon. Yeah, so the ruler of the underworld, I think like aka the devil. So even just to like play off the theme of the album being about, you know, Hades and Hadean, even the way it keeps dropping down, it almost feels like you're going like deeper into the underworld. I don't know if that's the, I'd imagine that that's the kind of feel they were going for, but it makes sense when you compare it with the lyrics and when you compare it to the actual name and the theme of the track. So that's just one of the things I've really liked about this whole Thal genre or subgenre within multiple subgenres, is that it kind of lends itself to like creative thinking when it comes to listening to music as well. Like just the kind of the little mind games or the little mind exercises that I was doing there, where really like allowing yourself to imagine like try and create a picture in your head of the soundtrack, or I suppose the film that the soundtrack that you're listening to would be over. So like I find myself doing that a lot with Thal. A lot of the other bands that I listen to are quite hard to do it because it has more of a like a kind of mainstream poppy feel, so it's quite hard to like picture like a cinematic feel to it. But these bands are so cinematic. They just lend themselves to this like horror themed film. So it's a lot easier to just like picture yourself in that scenario, or like what the movie of this soundtrack would look like. So like I can imagine just the outro, even the way it fades out, it's almost like this underworld feel. You're now being like dragged slowly down into it, you know. It's just like, I can picture like fire burning and like, you know, all the dark skies, and it's just like, it's a really vivid imagery. So that's one thing. It's just these bands actually like allow your mind to run very free when it comes to, you know, creatively thinking, I suppose. It'd actually be very interesting to hear if they have any like process to writing their music, whether or not they think of, say for example, like Hadean, like, right, let's go with this theme and let's like try and, now it may not be exactly what I've just thought of, but you know, I wonder if they have like an overall image in their head of what they want the feel of the track to be, because like this is very intentionally done. There's no way you can kind of create something that's this cinematic and this atmospheric that isn't somewhat designed to be like that, you know. It doesn't just happen by chance. So I'd wonder if they take inspiration from like maybe like even whether it be a film piece, or if it be like you know, something that they've came up with mid shroom trip or something. I don't know. got to touch on the tone here. The tone is just beautiful. I've spoken a lot about the atmosphere and the production and the overall feel of the track, but if we just go back to basics and we look at the instrumentals, listen to how nice that tone sits in the mix. It sounds like a fucking lightning bolt, just boom, 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 boom. That's got to be 8-string. I've got to check what that's played on. It's got to be an 8-string at least. Okay, here's Buster playing it. Okay, right, lads, we're going to do something a little bit different because I have just noticed that this motherfucker is playing his guitar. Is he playing it upside down? I'm trying to find the tuning for Tide, right? And I've just found Buster from Humanity's Last Breath playing Tide, a full guitar playthrough, and to me it looks like he's literally playing his guitar upside down. Okay, right, we're watching this video. Okay, we're going to watch this video. I haven't really got this set up to watch videos, but we'll see what we can do. One sec. Oh, well, that was easy. Okay, right. We have this video that we're going to now react to because we're already listening to the song. Why not just continue with this? So let me put me over here. First of all, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What? Is that a 6-string? There's simply no chance that's 6. But then again, he's playing it upside down, so I don't really know. Tuning E, B. That's 7. Yeah, it's 7. Wait, what? What the fuck? Look, I don't know, okay? It sounds like a 19-string, but we're going to watch this video. He is playing it upside down. Can someone tell me what the benefits of playing the guitar upside down bring? I'm trying to think logically here. Boom, 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 boom. I feel like it's easier if they hit the... I don't know. Well, maybe I'll see. Maybe it will become obvious when he's playing. How the fuck do you even... Does that mean he's had to buy... So I'm right-handed. So the only way I could play this upside down is if I switch this way. You guys can't even see. One sec. So I'm right-handed, so I play like this, yeah? So if I wanted to play upside down, the only way I can do that, because if I do this, then it's the wrong way. So I've got to turn it the other way. So he's had to buy... Is there such thing as a left-handed guitar? I don't know. I've never had to buy one, so I don't really know. So has he had to buy... This is like a new level of confused. Oh, that feels... that feels so wrong. It hurts. Okay, let's go back to this video. I'm just gonna like try and not overthink it because clearly this guy's from space. I'm completely out of focus. Hello? Yeah, we're back. Okay. To be honest, it's no wonder that their sound is so unique when it comes to Humanity's Last Breath or Vajata, when they have someone who's like he's reinventing the wheel to a certain extent. I've never seen anyone play the guitar upside down. I'm sure there's other people who do it, but it makes sense now why they can get such a unique sound, because they're doing something so completely unique. Like, it just makes certain things that would be a lot less hard to, manipulate on a regular guitar that's facing the right way, clearly he's making it work right, so I can't really say it's the right way, but it makes sense that he could do something that sounds so unique because he's doing something that is completely unique. So that's really fucking cool that he's playing that upside down. That was so weird. Why is he playing upside down? I don't get it. Oh wow, there's just so much to learn, isn't there? Like, they really like this is like a whole. It's like I know it's a subgenre of metal, but it almost feels like now we're just like getting out of the metal genre and we're just into something different here. Like upside down guitar playing. Like I'm still trying to rack my brain around how that would possibly make things easier. I know he's playing a lot of like down, like on the higher frets, but he's playing the low strings, but the low strings are at the bottom. So is it just easier to, because of how heavy they are, is it just easier to play riffs more consistently when you're playing it lower? I don't know. Look, someone just let me know what benefits there is to playing upside down like that. But that was quite a coincidence that we have. I'm sure all of their playthroughs and that kind of thing are upside down, to be honest. So it just seems like a coincidence that the one video I happen to be looking up is the one that he's playing upside down, which is a pretty cool coincidence. But let's continue on. That was tied. We're going on to Välde. Goddamn autofocus. Yeah, the more I hear this Buster guy, he's just getting more impressive, and the fact that he's playing upside down as well. How isn't I don't know if anyone's really mentioned that in the comments before, like suggesting that Drew, this guy plays upside down. I would have thought that that would be like quite a big point, but maybe someone has. So if you did at some point say that, I'm sorry. What do you even call that? It just sounds like cars skidding into each other. Sorry, I thought there was someone banging on my wall. Am I tripping? I could feel my floor vibrating. I thought it was the music for a second. I was like, Jesus, this is hitting hard. I think there's someone closing bins or something outside my house. That was fucking weird. I just had to this reaction has gone on a little bit longer than I actually expected. I was talking for a shit lot, so I've actually promised people I'd be ready soon, which I'm not gonna be, so they're just gonna have to wait like 5 minutes. So yeah, let's keep going. Sorry, that's why I was on my phone there just real quick. I wasn't just ignoring the music. I was just trying to make sure that I don't lose all my friends. That sounded like very, like he almost just lowered the volume knob. It didn't seem very discreet at all. It's like he just went, turn this one off now. Anyone else notice that? Or me? That doesn't sound very discreet whatsoever. It just sounds like he literally just went, I'm done with this. Me. Like, it wasn't like a little... It was like... Weird, I don't know. That didn't seem like technically sound. But, look, everything else has been perfect so far. I believe this is the last track on the album. Vittring. Let me just make sure if I still have friends. Okay, still have friends. Joe just kind of reminds me of, it reminds me of like a Lord of the Rings soundtrack. Yeah, I feel like that is probably a good way of describing it. It's like the orcs soundtrack music when they're walking in. But also just the level of detail and attention to detail with even the whispering in the build up to that. The whispering here is just like something that you maybe just not really pay attention to, but it just adds so much to it, you know? It just gives it that eerie feel. Yeah, this is some Lord of the Rings shit right here. I think The Lord of the Rings has a similar soundtrack where it's like the clinking of swords that are like in the backing track. It just gives it that feel of like, I can imagine loads of orcs like marching with like pickaxes and all these flaming torches. The amount of layers here is just beyond ridiculous. Like from the start of that where he said eyes, it's almost like he's breathing into the mix like and that keeps going, and then you have like the sword clinking sound, and then there's just like these, again, that like asteroidy sounding zeros. They're at, oh man, these guys are so fucking good. The production is on another level. It's very similar to Välde, just that flawless production. Like even the way they like mixed that pupils, the way he said pupils, it just made it so electronic. Phenomenal album. Wow. I was a little bit worried. I genuinely didn't think I was going to like it as much as I liked Välde stuff. I would probably say it's just a tad under Välde stuff. Again, I've only listened to it once, and Välde didn't really, well, I suppose it did. First album, yeah, my under that and clicked on me a lot straight away. This one hasn't, like, there wasn't as many of those moments where I had in Välde where I really got to just let loose and like properly headbang too. This felt more like I was saying, that kind of creative sounding, almost let your mind go loose. I'd say like doing shrooms or something on this kind of music would probably send you into a never-ending trip that you just never be able to get out of. So maybe don't do that. But overall, man, yeah, that was absolutely incredible. I was worried because people did say it's like Välde, just heavier and probably like more blast beats, more, I suppose, just in general, more moments that would be less accommodating for the music that I have shown previously that I like. But even just listening to this now, it's crazy to think that I can sit through an album like this and really fuck with it compared to what it would have been like a year ago. I just really wouldn't have liked this at all. So it is so true over time. And it's funny, when I started listening to metal, or started listening to metal on this channel at least, people always said that, you know, give it time, you'll eventually adapt to this kind of music. You'll start to like the heavier vocals, you'll start to like the heavier, you know, tunings. And I was always kind of like, well, not really, like I'm never really going to like it. But it just is true. Like over time, you just kind of gradually start wanting something a little bit heavier. Obviously you'll still like the more mid tier heaviness, and then like, you know, some of the more lighter hearted stuff, but this kind of stuff is just like something that you really have to ease your way into. And I think I've done that really well on the channel because of you guys and your suggestions. Like, it's been kind of like, oh, Drew won't like this. So there was still a little bit of that concern that people were saying that maybe this might be a little bit too heavy for Drew. But I think at this point I'm open-minded enough to understand that I can say openly that I don't really like something, but understand how great it is. That's not the case with this at all. I really fuck with this. I'm just giving that as an example. But yeah, if we have to rate this one, again, sometimes it's nice to kind of have a bit of time to sit with an album, but just for the purpose of these videos, to actually give a rating up front, God, this one is like, I think Välde has more replayability from the two albums I've listened to from them. But this one, like, as a body of work, I've got to give it a 9 at least a 9. Like, it was just mind-blowingly well produced. The creativity, the fact that they're playing the guitars, from what I can see, I would imagine throughout the whole album, upside down. Again, let me know what the story is there. Why is that a thing? What benefit does it bring? I'm sure it does bring a lot of benefits based on how creative and unique their sound is. So yeah, that is one for the wall, I think, lads. Anything that gets over a 9 at this point, I think is just going to get bought. So I've got a few albums to buy at this point, but I'm kind of running out of space, or I need to kind of figure out where I'm going to put things. So yeah, lads, if you did enjoy the video, it would be much appreciated if you could drop a like. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. It would be much appreciated as well. Links for Patreon and everything will be in the description. Any support over there would be greatly, greatly appreciated, lads. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'm signing out. Look after yourselves. See you in the next one. Cheers.